Hello, and welcome to this month's Equio demo with a special focus on brands and retailers. My name is Abby Kaufman. I am the product and customer support lead here at New Frontier Data. So while we're waiting for a few more people to join in, I'll go ahead and walk through kind of an overview of what we'll be discussing today. And first of all, thank you for joining again. So today we'll be walking through just an overview, some background about New Frontier Data and how Equio came to be in its current form. And then we'll dive into the platform itself for the demo product tour portion of this event. And then at the end, we will be addressing some of the questions that were submitted prior to the event and also opening it up for any new questions that may come up over the course of the demo. And then, of course, at the end, we'll discuss next steps for how you can get started leveraging the tools and the data-driven hacks that we'll discuss over the course of the webinar. And we also have an exciting announcement about the month of October for new subscribers. So if you're unable to join for the entire duration, then be sure to check your email following the event in the next few days so you can learn about this exciting opportunity. And we'll disclose that at the end. So to get started, just to provide a little bit of background about New Frontier Data, we were founded in 2014 at a time when there was very minimal data available on the legal cannabis industry. And at the time, a lot of the data that was collected was geared towards legislators and investors and in the financial space assessing risks. And so over the years, we've established our credibility in the industry through our ability to consistently, accurately provide actionable insights into the cannabis market and forecast the direction in which the industry is headed. One of the ways that we present this information outside of Equio is through our analyst reports. We are one of the most cited cannabis data sources, if not the most, in the industry. Some of our reporting, one of the reports that gained us a lot of attention and that was recently revisited is New Frontier Data was the first company to identify and define cannabis consumer archetypes and their profiles. So that initially came out in 2018, and most recently we revisited those. And that data is all included within the consumer dashboard of Equio, which we'll walk through, as well as within the 2021 US Consumer Evolution Report, which is also included and available to all Equio subscribers, as well as our entire library of analyst reports. So to situate Equio in context of New Frontier Data, Equio, as I mentioned at the top, was primarily, up until May of this year, was primarily displaying our industry recognized market data and projections. However, since 2014 and since Equio began roughly 3 or 4 years ago, the needs of industry stakeholders have evolved as the industry has evolved alongside it, particularly those of brands and retailers like many of you on this event today. So to fulfill our mission of providing industry stakeholders with that type of actionable intelligence, we decided that Equio needed to evolve alongside these needs. So that's why in May, we launched an entirely new Equio experience, nearly tripling the amount of data included within the dashboards without getting rid of the market data that so many of our existing subscribers have come to rely upon. So in the new Equio experience, what we'll be walking through in just a few moments, we will go through the 3 cannabis data dashboards. The first being the retail data dashboard, which provides you with tools to discover the market and really get a sense of the ground level, even down to the dispensary level. So when I say ground level, I mean that quite literally. That most of the widgets in this dashboard are derived from point of sale data, as well as some license data from our Canna Connect product, and also geolocation data to monitor dispensary visits, and then even tying that into those consumer profiles. The second dashboard that we'll walk through today is going to be the cannabis consumer dashboard. So this is going to be primarily derived from our extensive cannabis consumer surveying, and that will allow you to really engage your customer. Once you know what they're spending it's helpful to understand who these people are. And one of the benefits of the consumer surveying is the fact that it accounts for people that may not purchase through legal channels. So if a new state is coming online, it really presents a holistic picture of the cannabis consumer in and outside of legal markets. And then lastly, we have the market dashboard, where it's really enabling you to identify opportunities and risks, because nothing exists in a vacuum, and the cannabis industry is no exception. So that is one of the advantages of pulling all of these different types of data all together into one single access point to really paint a full picture and allow you to make the best decisions for your business and your business needs. So with that being said, in addition to those 3 data dashboards, there are several other features included with all Equio subscriptions. I wanted to call those out before we dive into the platform in case we don't have enough time to really dive into those. One of them being WeedX, which displays the performance of publicly traded companies in North America, of cannabis companies, so you can monitor their performance there. Also, our data marketplace that enables Equio subscribers to access the data, the source data behind our analyst reports. So whether you are interested in, if you have your own data set and want to do your own formulations, you can and do your own extrapolations, or if you just simply want to see for yourself how our data compares to what you have, by all means, that's what the data marketplace is there for. Or even something as simple as just creating a chart or graph for a pitch deck that you want to use your own branding for. And we'll go through the differences between those, what you can do with the data marketplace with each subscription level once we're in the platform. As I mentioned briefly at the top, all Equio subscriptions also include access to our entire library of analyst reports and charts. Again, what you're able to do with those does vary slightly between the 2 subscription levels, but there's a wealth of reports. I believe we're over 100 at this point, and thousands of charts to really visualize and the data and make it as digestible and actionable as possible. And then lastly, all Equio subscriptions include all features of our Cannabis subscription offering. So including access to our entire webinar archive, presentations, and archives of our cannabis and hemp bits. So it's really transforming the data into commercial insight so that to level the playing field. So with that being said, I will go ahead and get right into the platform. So when you first log into Equio, you're going to land on the homepage, which highlights most of the features that I mentioned previously. So we have the 3 dashboards of cannabis data dashboards, the reports and charts, the data marketplace, WeedX, which is pulling in at the top here, Cannabis, and our Cannabis Insight Daily. This widget, this is the only place that you will be able to access this on the homepage. And this is essentially, as I'm sure you're aware, your inboxes get quite cluttered and there's a lot going on in the cannabis industry. So this is our industry experts keeping their finger on the pulse of the industry so that you don't have to. And so it's a nice supplemental resource to the data available within Equio. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and get to the exciting, fun part of the cannabis retail dashboard. So here, all of the dashboards are there will be a data tab that will display the one key stat for each metric across the dashboards for the location level that you're viewing. Within the map, this is the visual distribution of all active and operational dispensary licenses in the United States. If you wanted to search, if you had a particular one in mind or wanted to see how your dispensary is performing, you can use the search bar to do just that. And then below the map across the dashboards and at each location level, there's going to be a set of interactive data widgets visualizing some key data points. As a part of our goal to elevate the professionalism of the cannabis industry through unbiased vetted business intelligence, a large part of that is a commitment to transparency. So If you decide to sign up for a trial or are a current Equio subscriber and want to learn a little bit more at any point about any widget, there's always going to be a tooltip providing a little bit of context into the frequency of updates, the data source, and the so what to help you understand what you could potentially do with those insights. So first we have the product sales index, and this is showing the revenue share across the 7 primary product forms for the entire United States. As the name interactive data widget implies, they are all interactive, so feel free to click around, change how the data is displayed. In this one, you can change if you were interested in the previous calendar month or wanted to look back even further, you can change how that's displayed. We also, and this is derived from point of sale data that is over, it's in over roughly, I believe this number is actually higher now, closer to 1,500 of the dispensaries throughout the United States. And this is going to be updated monthly. All of the widgets within this dashboard that are point of sale data related will be updated monthly, including the best selling products widget, which is where you will find the top 5 products and brands across the top 3 product categories. For flower, this is by strain rather than individual operators or brands, since those names tend to change. And that's the level of the point of sale data that's available. And then, so this is insightful to understand what consumers are purchasing, where things are headed, and what brands are doing well and really taking a hold of the market. And as you see in this widget, several brands have multiple products within the top 5. And so it provides a level of insight to understand what they're doing and how you could potentially replicate or expand upon that for your own business strategy. And then down here, we're going to see a little bit more about some more widget derived from point of sale data. So this is showing the average spend per transaction, per shopping cart across those, across 6 product types. So by default, this is going to be for the average shopping cart value for the previous calendar month. But if you want to see how things are evolving over time, then you can use the drop down to select a particular product form to see just that, what the average value per shopping cart is in a given year. And then we can see also at the license data, just to get a sense of the scope and the reach of the cannabis industry and what types of operators are existing and license holders in the license data widget here. So in the center, you can see the total cannabis licenses as well as the cultivator dispensary. I do want to note that in this widget, this is talking about active licenses, active dispensary licenses, while the values in the top of the data tab and in the map are going to be active and operational. So there will be a bit of a difference between those two. By design. So this, the data source for this is from our Connect product. So in the tooltip, if that's something you're interested in, if you wanted to actually reach out to these license holders for any lead generation or just general B2B purposes, I encourage you to look at the Connect product. And then we can also see the revenue by day of week. This is updated monthly as well. The trends seem fairly consistent since this has been implemented. Fridays seem to be the most popular day in the United States for people to visit dispensaries and make purchases there. So with MJBizCon coming up, I figured today to move into the state level, we'll go into Nevada. New Frontier Data will be at MJBizCon. If any of you are interested in discussing any of our other product offerings, we will be there, so feel free to reach out to sales@newfrontierdata.com if you'd like to arrange a meeting, or we will look forward to seeing you on the convention floor. So that said, in the state of Nevada, at the state level of the retail dashboard, we're going to see 2 familiar widgets, the product sales index, again, just for that state, as well as the license data for that state. To see how that compares to the overall trends across the United States. And then down below here, we can see the average spend per transaction. So this is how much the average consumer, when they check out at a dispensary or place an online order, or delivery order, how much are they spending each time? That and you're able to see trends, how they change over time, or select for a particular year. And then that coincides with the next widget of average monthly spend per consumer. So here we're showing how much people are spending, each individual consumer is spending in a given month. And when you combine those two insights, it's a helpful metric to understand in this particular instance. So in August, it seems that while the average spend per transaction went down a little bit from July, the monthly spend went up, which could imply that in August, cannabis consumers in Nevada were visiting dispensaries more frequently, which begs the question of, are they visiting your store more frequently, or are they choosing to go to one of your competitors? And at the county and at the dispensary level, you'll be able to answer that question. But before we get to that, I did want to move to the top 3 profiles widget. So now that we know what consumers are purchasing and how much they're spending, it might be helpful to understand who these consumers are. So that's where the top 3 profiles come in. This is based on, again, our consumer archetyping, and is pulling in data from our geolocation data along with our consumer archetyping data. So the values and the profiles and archetypes displayed in the retail data dashboard are derived from that. It's going to look a little bit different when we get to the consumer dashboard in a few moments. But here, to understand who in Nevada, who the top consumer profile is, they're associated with the savvy connoisseurs, which as the parent archetype. But at the sale and savvy level, that's an even more granular look at this consumer profile as like a subcategory of this overarching parent archetype. So you have some key socioeconomic types of data points. You can understand what their budget might look like based on their income and net worth. And most importantly, for brands and operators to understand how to get in touch with these people and how to engage with them, especially for loyalty program efforts. So in this particular instance, this consumer profile seems to be pretty open to most forms of media. However, that's not always the case. So it's just a key insight to have for expanding your brand awareness and reach and driving customer loyalty. You can also see in the state where this consumer profile tends to frequent, as well as what their top product forms are. So that's at the state level. At the county level, this is when we're going to start to introduce some of the geolocation data that I mentioned. So Clark County, again, where the MJ-BizCon is going to be occurring, we can see how many dispensary visits have occurred since October 2020. That is when this data became available. So you won't be able to go back farther than that, but you can adjust the dates. Our geolocation data is going to be it's updated weekly. However, there is roughly a 10-day lag time. So while we are at the end of September, there will be a slight delay. So that's why if you were to check back in 10 days, you would get a little bit of a better sense of how the visits were going in September, just as a side note there. And if you wanted to say that you're particularly interested in, or you were an MSO in, or multi-license holder in a state or a county, you wanted to see how visits compared across locations, you're able to do that at the county level. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper at the dispensary level. But then you're also able to access the top 3 profiles here at the county level to see what the top 3 profiles are in a given county and how that compares to the state as a whole. You may have one retail location in one county and one in another. Or if you're a brand, maybe that that one type of customer just is not a fan of that particular product form, then perhaps that's not the county that you might want to do business in. So those are potential use cases for knowing this at the county level to really understand your local market. Then we can get down into even the dispensary level. So let's say the source, Las Vegas, there's 2 locations. So here with Las Vegas being, a relatively tourist driven city. Unsurprisingly, a lot of the visitors for this location are new, but a good portion of them are returning. So this kind of speaks to the return visitors' customer loyalty to your retail location. And so then this is pulling in while in the dispensary visits widget between October 2020 and September 2021, this is the number of visits that were tracked. Of those visits, this is the number of unique visitors. Average frequency is going to tell you how often people are returning on average to your dispensary location. And so that's helpful to know as a retailer to help with staffing and understand how to stock your shelves, and even for brands to understand, okay, if my product is stocked on this shelf, and in that state, this percentage of sales are of my product category, and this is the spend, this is what I can expect for the sell-through in this location. You can also know how long the dwell time is. So depending on the dispensary floor layout, whether it's open floor or the behind the counter, how does that impact how long people are there, and what impact does that have on the spending, on the amount that people spend with each purchase? So those are a few of the potential use cases or scenarios where you can apply this geolocation data to help assess your brand and customer loyalty, as well as understand your inventory and even staffing. And then down to the dispensary visits widget, we're going to pull back in those consumer profiles. So by default, the top profile will be checked in relation to the total visits. So for this particular dispensary location, the top profile is come uppers. There have been 996 of those visits. However, in that zip code, there are actually 108,000 consumers meeting that profile that you could be marketing to, or that you could capture. And that is where our Next Tech product offering comes into play for programmatic advertising of capabilities. A link to that product offering is in the tooltip as well. But it highlights the market capacity and the level of opportunity for each consumer profile. And then within this widget as well, let's say that you wanted to see how a particular location of yours compares to another, or a competitor. Then you can see how those visits and the visit breakdown compares across consumer profiles. So perhaps one location sees a lot of people that really enjoy edibles. Another one is more of a flower-driven type of consumer. That can be helpful to know, so that consumers are not one size fits all, and neither are dispensary inventory. So it's helpful to know those types of insights. And then just as a side note, if you ever wanted to return to the US level, the home button allows you to do that. There's also a breadcrumb trail here. So that is the retail data dashboard. Moving along to the consumer data dashboard to take an even deeper dive into who these cannabis consumers are in the United States. Unlike the retail data dashboard, both the consumer data dashboard and the market data dashboard are going to be only for the United States as well as the state level. So the retail data dashboard is unique in the sense that it has the county level as well as the dispensary level data as well. So in these two maps as well, you're going to have different map filters. So you can see visually how annual consumption rates or monthly consumption rates or total consumers per 1,000 people vary across states in a heat map format. And then below that, you can see some key stats for general cannabis consumer data. So in the United States as a whole, how many cannabis consumers exist per 1,000 people? How often are they consuming? And what is how many registered medical patients exist in the country, or again, at the state level? Go to Arizona here. And how that varies compared to the national and from state to state. And then to get a little bit even deeper, you can understand what product forms consumers report consuming. So this is where we can see not only this ties into the product sales, but this is based on what people want to consume. and also accounts for some of the illicit market consumers. And it also allows you to filter by age and by gender. And these filters right here will impact these 4 widgets. So you can see how often people report consuming cannabis, how much they're spending per purchase, which is interesting to see how much people report spending versus what the point of sale data shows, just to account for other factors as well. And also the source. So this is particularly interesting. I know that we had a question submitted in advance about understanding home grow markets and opportunity. That is one part of the source consumer data widget. So you can understand who grows their own. In Arizona, that doesn't seem to be a significant portion of the cannabis consumer population there. But that would be one place to find that type of insight. And so these filters can all be applied to update, say you know that your target consumer for your product is going to be a female over 55. You can update those to get that even more granular level of insight into your target consumers and how they prefer to consume cannabis and how often. And the bottom row of widgets here, we're going to see the overall breakdown across the 10 cannabis consumer archetypes, which again, New Frontier Data recently revisited these, revised them, and added. We used to have 9, now there's 10, because as I'm sure you are all aware, the cannabis consumers are evolving as more states open up and cannabis becomes more accessible. It's introducing new types of consumption and methods, so we needed to account for that. So within here, you can click on, so in the state of Arizona, we see that aching dabblers are the most common consumer archetype. Learn a little bit more about them, as well as what their related profile is. These profiles are what we saw in the retail data dashboard. So obviously there is a link between the retailer and the consumer, and the archetypes are what serve, and the profiles are what serve as that unifying link there. And then also, why do consumers consume cannabis? That can be helpful for understanding the messaging, for branding. While there are some regulatory restrictions on claims, it can be helpful to understand the use cases for your products and for why consumers are interested in using it, and how your product offering or what products you have on your shelf serve those needs, and how you can best address those in the market, whether that's on the shelf or in your packaging. Moving along to the market data dashboard. This is, again, the data within here was the bulk of the previous Equio version, showing the legal status, as well as, again, there are a few other map layers, just like we saw in the consumer data dashboard. I will get back to this market opportunity at the state level in a moment, but this is essentially showing a unified ranking of opportunity across the states, which, as many of you are likely aware, is difficult to do with the different state regulations and frequency of data updates. So this is a helpful tool there that we'll see even more insight into down at the state level. But before we get there, at the national level, you're able to see for the previous calendar year what the legal market size was by market type, illicit market size, and consumption rates, patient counts, to really get a sense of where the industry is and understand opportunity and just the current state of the industry. And also then in the cannabis market sizing, so we know where it is, but where is it going in the future? This is where we're pulling in our modeling to assess the market opportunity and where each market is going. One thing to note here and in our reporting is that New Frontier Data does account for illicit market. So that is a helpful point of consideration as new states come online and as regulators are creating and revising existing legislation to understand those factors that may contribute the cannibalization of the illicit market, and what factors may move people from the illicit market into the legal market, and how all of those factors interact with one another. This widget has 2 other drop downs as well. So we can see medical condition prevalence in the population, as well as consumer and patient count. which, so the patient saturation across the United States and consumers, as well as our projections for the numbers of consumers over the years. Oklahoma is a particularly interesting state to look at when it comes to that patient saturation. It has one of the higher patient participation, highest patient participation rates in the country. And so one of our reports does take a deep dive into that state as a case study. And as I mentioned at the top, there is going, at the state level of the market data dashboard, we're going to see the cannabis market opportunity widget, which will break down the 4 inputs that are considered into this overall opportunity index ranking, which is a proprietary algorithmic ranking of opportunity across those metrics. This tooltip in particular does give a lot of information into what types of inputs are considered for each of those 4 factors that contribute to the overall opportunity ranking. While there is the map, you can also look to see how each state stacks up across those 4 metrics and overall. So if you are particularly risk averse, or if you really want to get into the biggest market as quickly as possible, you're able to filter this table and this compare all pop-up as well. In the regulatory data widget, you can also look at, it links directly to the regulatory agency by market type for the state and the individual piece of legislation associated with the cannabis legalization for that state, and some have multiple. And so that is this typically takes up the most amount of time. And so those are the widgets within the cannabis data dashboard. I know that we have about 10 minutes left. So I will just quickly go through the reports and charts in Data Marketplace. But there are several other components included with an Equio subscription so that's why I wanted to make sure to call those out at the top. So with reports and charts, one thing that I do want to point out is the fact that at the Equio basic level, which is the one that includes the free trial, the reports, you're able to view the entire contents in the PDF viewer. And you can even resize the PDF viewer or move it around and search through the contents. However, the ability to actually download the report to view outside of Equio, that is a feature of the Equio Pro subscription level. However, if you sign up for a free trial, you are able to view the full contents in the PDF viewer. Another difference between the 2 subscription levels is going to be in the charts library. Here you can filter by a particular report to see all charts related. Again, at the Equio basic level, these charts are going to have the watermark and will not be able to be downloaded. While at the Equio Pro level, you can download them, include them. And the reason that you're able to do that is because the Equio Pro subscription level includes licensing rights for the duration of your subscription. So you can use our images for commercial purposes. And we do have within our terms of use, if you have any questions about what that exactly entails, please don't hesitate to reach out to customer care for any clarification that you may have. The other key difference between the 2 subscription levels is going to be through the data marketplace. So I'm currently logged in again as an Equio basic subscriber. Therefore, the data sets in the data marketplace are available for purchase. I can click into any data product to read the description, learn a little bit more, or if I've purchased some in the past, I can download them that way. If you are an Equio Pro subscriber, you're going to be able to download, this is how all of the data products will look. If you were to purchase each one individually, it'd be over $100,000 worth of data products. And as an Equio Pro subscriber, all are included at no additional cost. So I will go ahead and stop there and move over to the Q&A portion of the event. One question that came up was about the New York market data and how good the data is. So I'm not certain which type of data this individual was referring to, but I will say that we, the point of, when it comes to the point of sale data, we have our point of sale data provider is present in nearly close to 100% of the providers in New York from our last, the last time that our data analyst looked at that, which was right before this. We also had a question about CBD industry growth and the factors contributing to the growth of the CBD industry. For that question, as you may have noticed, there's not currently a CBD related dashboard within Equio. However, we do have several of our analyst reports, which the vast majority of which are exclusively distributed in Equio. So those, we do have a few CBD related reports. The one for that, if you're interested in industry growth, I would recommend the second volume of our 4-volume US CBD consumer series that is about spending and market size. This report right here. That would be one resource that I would recommend accessing in Equio to answer those questions. We also had a question about the Latin American market. We are in the process of developing our global dashboard in Equio. The timeline for that release is still to be determined, but be sure to subscribe to our newsletters to be informed once that is available. In the meantime, we did just about 2 weeks ago publish our global report, which contains forecasts for 2020 through 2025 for the global market. And it pulls in, I believe, 29 individual country profiles, several of which are in Latin America. So that would be my recommendation there. That report is currently still, I believe, maybe available for complimentary download as well. And if it is no longer, it is certainly available in Equio. We also had a question about direct to consumer for a hemp farm. And for that individual, I would recommend our US hemp market landscape report. Like our global dashboard, we do have a hemp dashboard underway, both of which are slated to be released in Q4. And again, if you have any questions about the timeline, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to customer care at afrontierdata.com or subscribe to our newsletters to be among the first to hear once that is released. Lastly, we have a question about CBD stats on, I guess, product forms like infused for coffee was an example mentioned. For that, I would recommend the cannabis infused product report series. One of them is the first volume is more geared towards high THC products. However, the second one does spend a good deal of the report focusing on CBD products as well. And now I'll take a look at the Q&As that have come in over the course of the demo. So let's see. How are unique visits tracked? That is a great question. So unique visits are tracked by, it uses mobile IDs. So it is based on their individual mobile profile. And that is one of the benefits of the geolocation data. So it'll be based on the mobile ID. That is also one of the limitations of geolocation data. If someone, depending on their privacy settings or if they leave their phone in the car, it may not be tracked, but it is still a wonderful comparative tool across locations. Also have a question about is this dispensary data only any delivery data? This delivery data is delivery orders and online orders for dispensaries are included within the product sales index widgets and the other widgets that are derived from point of sale data. And how do we get, another question is, how do we get the illicit market spend? For that one, so we use data published from various state and federal government regulatory agencies, as well as, I believe it's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Alliance, a national organization, conducts their own surveys and data. So we use that with our consumer survey data to extrapolate the illicit market projections. A more thorough and likely much better worded explanation of that is included in any of our market reports, such as the Cannabis in the US 2021 mid-year market update. All of our reports have very extensive methodology sections dedicated to answering exactly those types of questions. And so before, I know that I mentioned at the top, there is the exciting announcement. So we'll stop with the Q&As for now. However, if you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to, again, customer care at newfrontierdata.com. And we'll be happy to answer those. And then for the final step, what's next? You can sign up for a free trial. And now for the very first time, we are not only extending the free trial for 30 days for new subscribers. So rather than 7-day free trial, you get 30. For the entire month of October, we're also eliminating the need for you to enter your credit card. So we are providing you with data in context, no credit card required, no commitment. We want to provide industry stakeholders with the best, most reliable, actionable intelligence. The industry is continuously evolving and is at a pivotal point in time. And so we want to share that with you and hopefully look forward to seeing most of you or some of you at BizCon. And again, if you do plan to be there and would like to schedule any time with our sales team or speak with us, please reach out to sales@newfrontierdata.com. And in the meantime, we hope that you enjoy your extended free access to Equio, and please do not hesitate to reach out to customer care with any questions. Thank you so much.